You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. We are talking to Pat Flynn. Pat's a father, he's a husband, he also got laid off from a job a couple years ago, but more important is that he's an online entrepreneur. He works from his home office in San Diego, California, and we've invited him here today to talk about some of the work that he's doing. Pat, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. I'm very happy to be here. Let
me just start by asking you to tell your story.
Sure, absolutely. I went to school for architecture at University of California, Berkeley. I kind of was born and I started playing with Legos, and I thought architecture was going to be my whole life. And it was for a while, until in October of 2008, when really the economy here in the U.S. kind of just tanked. And, of course, so did my job along with it. So I was laid off, and I didn't really know what to do. And it was scary because I was about to get married, too. I didn't know how I was going to support my family. And I did try to look for another job in the architecture industry, but it's nobody was building anything, so nobody needed any architects. And even still today, no one, or a lot of my coworkers that were laid off with me, are still struggling to find a job. So I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at. But what kind of happened was, while I was working, I had created this website, basically just a blog, to keep track of my notes for an exam that I was taking that's related to architecture. It's called the LEED exam, or LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. A really niche down, exam that not all architects take, but many of them do. So I created this blog basically to help keep track of my notes, because I was better at typing than I was at writing notes, and it was easier for me to do studying while I was traveling and stuff like that off of a computer as opposed to huge books. And I could share my notes with my coworkers and stuff to help them pass too. So I passed the exam. I just let the site sit there, got laid off, really got interested in internet business. I heard a lot of people having success with it, and I said, okay, well, I do have this website. Let me go check to see if anyone else is using it. I haven't really checked the stats before. I didn't have comments open because I had no reason to have comments open. So I checked the stats. Literally blew my mind. Thousands of people every single day were visiting this website that I had created from all around the world. And it actually scared me a little, because I didn't know any of this was happening. I didn't know if my notes were good enough. But apparently, once I opened up the comments, people had questions. People said that they really enjoyed the content that I was putting out there. And basically the way I was found was just because I put all this stuff online. Google was picking up my articles and posts and charts and images and stuff that I was adding to help myself and my coworkers out, and ranking it really high. So that's how people found me. And from there, I learned a little bit more about internet business, so I added what's called Google AdSense on the site, which are just automatically generated advertisements related to the content that I post on there. And that basically took a day, and immediately I saw, $2-3 a day coming in just from adding a little bit of code on my site. And that was my first experience with making money online. And although it was only $2 or $3, that was a lot to me, because I didn't have any money coming in.
A lot more than nothing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I knew there was something there. So from there, I learned more about internet business, and I decided to kind of rent space on my site to advertisers who wanted some of the traffic that I had for their own site and their own products. So I did that, and I was making about $200, $300 a month renting space on my site, just basically advertisements on the site for that. But of course, that wasn't enough to make a living off of. And what really helped me out is I joined what's called a mastermind group, a group of people who also had internet businesses, who knew a lot more than I did, but who were very welcoming and allowed me to learn from them. And a mastermind group is you basically just get together and help each other out to reach your goals.
Was this a face-to-face group or an online group?
This was a face-to-face group. I'm not a part of this group anymore because it kind of broke up once people moved away, but I am in 2 mastermind groups that meet via Skype and via conference call every week, and they've been amazingly helpful. And in this face-to-face one, the first one that I was in, a guy told me to write an ebook for my site, a study guide. And I said, I don't know how to do that. What if it doesn't sell? I don't know. I was kind of scared to do it, but he said, just trust me, do it. What have you got to lose? It only takes, just time to write an ebook. So I did that. I spent about 2 months writing the ebook. First month I launched the ebook on my site, I had made about $8,000
Oh my goodness.
And it just like it blew me away, and I had no idea that any of this was possible, and it literally scared me again because it just didn't seem right. Like, I felt like I didn't deserve it. And maybe I was doing something illegal that I shouldn't have been doing. I don't know, but I was doing everything totally legal, and it was nice because as opposed to a lot of the, when we talk about internet marketing and doing business online, a lot of people think immediately about scams and get rich quick and do this and do that type of stuff. But this was actually me building a product that actually helped people pass an exam, and in turn they were very happy to purchase the product that helped them and also spread the word about it. So my site grew even more. The next month I made like 12,000, 15,000 the month after.
And that was all on this ebook or on the site itself?
All on this one single ebook. It was ridiculous. And it's an electronic book, of course. So the nice thing about it was everything happened automatically. So the way I set it up, I use a site at ejunkie.com, e-junkie.com, which allows you to upload your book, and then it gives you a buy now button that you can put on your site. And what happens is when people come to your site, whether they come from referrals from other people or Google or however, they find the product that they like, they buy it, and it automatically gets emailed to them with a download link. So I don't even have to be there for a transaction to happen. So I was literally spending, after I had created this ebook and I also created an audio guide to go along with it, I was literally spending about 10 to 15 hours a month maintaining this site that was making $20,000, $30,000 a month. And it just totally changed my life. And that's kind of when I created the Smart Passive Income blog, which is where most people know me from online, where I talk about what happened on that site, why it was successful. And I've been doing a lot of other sites and other experiments and other kind of ways to genuinely and honestly make money online without having to hype things up and scam people and feed off of people's hopes and dreams and stuff like that, which is what normally people think about when you hear people doing business online. So that's how I got to where I'm at today. And now the blog smartpassiveincome.com has 30,000 followers, a Facebook fan page of 15,000, 50,000 Twitter followers. It's just been an amazing journey, and that's why I'm always happy to come on shows and podcasts like this and share my story and inspire people and really show people that a regular, I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular guy. I didn't go to business school or anything like that. I just learned what's possible, and I just took action and really put my all into it. I really had no choice but to succeed because
hard to feed a family with no income.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, I'm not going to move back with my parents.
We are talking to Pat Flynn, who lives on his own with his wife and kids. He's a California entrepreneur who had a little bad luck a few years ago getting laid off from his Lego design job. He used to build Lego buildings. No, I'm kidding. He was an architect, but that didn't work out because no one wanted buildings when the market crashed. And he was led into an online business, which has since developed into a blog called smartpassiveincome.com, where he teaches other people about doing business. So other than this original business, have you started other businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. My friend and I, we heard some success stories about people doing iPhone applications. So there was actually an iPhone app that was made very popular because it showed how much success it had, and it was a ridiculous application called iFart. I don't know if you've heard about this application that basically allows you to program different types of farts and have you can set it to that you can set it for like an alarm, so you can keep the phone there when somebody moves it, then it farts. It's ridiculous, but it made
people
millions.
Were happy to pay for that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was only 99 cents, but it made millions. That was done by Joelcom, and my friend and I were like, we got to be able to do something that's better than that, or at least there's something out there as far as these types of applications are concerned, and the iPhone app market is huge, and as we all know now, it is huge, and there are a lot of success stories on it. So my friend and I, we created a few applications, and now we have a total of about 27 applications in iTunes, all making passive income. We just created the applications. We didn't even program them. We don't know how to program. We outsource that to developers who are much better than us as far as the ability to create applications. We put them on iTunes on the App Store, and they're making for a while they were making about $8,000 to $12,000 a month in total. But now the market's slowed down a little. It's a little bit more competitive. So now we're making about $5,000 to $8,000 a month just from those iPhone applications that are in iTunes.
Okay, so that's the passive income that you've set up, but it's clear just from the stories that you're telling me that you are in fact adding value to the equation. This is not just that you know how to win the lottery, it's that you have some good ideas and
right.
you've found tools to market them. how do people come up with these ideas that will work?
Really, for me in the lead exam stuff, that was just stuff that came from my own experience, stuff that people asked questions to me about. And I think my advice would be to look at your life and see what people are asking you about. What do you have knowledge in? What are you considered to be an expert in? And the thing, the whole expert equation, that's interesting because you don't have to be a complete expert in order to become successful online. You just have to know more than other people. Mm-hmm. And the other people who are searching for that information, if you have the answers, they are, depending on what it is that you're sharing, they may be willing to pay you for it. Or if you give it all away, they might be happy to repay you for all the information that you've given them. I actually had a lot of people who purchased my ebook after they passed the test because they just wanted to thank me for all the free information that they got to pass the exam before I had that ebook come out, which is pretty interesting.
Do you think that people are hesitant to pay for things? There's so much that's free online. Obviously, you're getting a lot of pay, but how is it that you make people... if I talk to a client, I say, why don't you learn about this? He goes, no problem, I'll just go online and learn about it. He doesn't expect to be paying. So how do people differentiate whether they should pay for something online or they shouldn't?
Well, that's a great question. I believe that if you can provide something of complete value that is epic and will totally help them achieve something, people would be willing to pay for it. And yes, there's free information out there, but the thing is, it's hard to organize all the free information. The nice thing and the very interesting point about the ebook that I created was actually 95% of the content in that ebook could be found for free on the website. And that's another thing that kind of scared me about creating the ebook in the first place. I was scared that people were going to be like, why did you charge me for this? I can get it for free. But people were absolutely happy to pay for it because, one, like I just mentioned, I had already given them so much free content that they felt like they had to repay me. But secondly, also because the ebook is a lot more organized. It's something that's, it's not physical, but it's more tangible than having to go from link to link on a website. It's much more organized and streamlined. And if it has a specific purpose with an endpoint, for example, that one is passing an exam, they can see the steps to get there much easier in an ebook or in an online course or something like that, as opposed to just flipping through pages for free on a site. And another thing about paying for stuff, a lot of people feel like, it's interesting. When people pay for stuff, they feel like there's value in it. That there might be some awesome, amazing free content out there that can teach you the same thing. But I believe that when people pay for something, they're more invested in completing whatever it is that they're going to or that they're attempting to do out there. So I think, it's funny because when I launched the ebook, I didn't want to charge much at all. I charged $19.95 for it, which was way low, much lower than any other study guides that were out there from all the big companies. And I actually got an email from one of my customers who was a business expert. He said, "You're way underpricing your ebook. You should raise the price and then come back to me in a month and tell me what happens." So I did that. And I actually sold more. Wow. I sold more ebooks at the higher price because there was more perceived value from the eyes of the customer. So I emailed him back and I said, thank you so much. Is there anything I could do for you? And
here's your commission.
Said, yeah, but no, he was like, no. He was. That was life changing.
That was great advice.
Yeah, it was great advice.
We were talking to Patrick Flynn. Pat, we're just about out of time, but tell me something before we run out. If you were going to give the listeners one suggestion of something they could do other than go to your website, which we'll say at the end, what would be a good first step for people to get started in their own online business?
Well, the first thing I would do is just do it. There's a lot of things holding us back, like being scared of failures or mistakes or technology. I would just go out there, find someone who's already doing what you want to do, and learn from them. Learn as much as possible from them. And if a lot of people, this is a lot of people out there who are successful are willing to help those who want to be successful too. That's why I have my site, and I know exactly where I came from. That's why anyone who emails me, I always respond. I always respond on my tweets and Facebook comments because I was once at that point. So I would really look for a mentor or a coach or something like that you can really learn from and get a little bit of guidance. For me, it was the mastermind group, which is a group of people, which is great, but a lot of times it's hard to find those people. So really just finding a coach or a mentor, someone to look up to who you can kind of not copy, definitely not copy. You don't want to do that, but use as inspiration or use as kind of an example of where you want to be, and that's how you get there.
Okay, that sounds great. And my last question for you is, how can people find out more about what you're doing?
Sure, you can go to my website at smartpassiveincome.com, and I'd love to say hi to you there.
All right. Pat Flynn from smartpassiveincome.com. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.